Our biggest enemy is to get used to something, as it's called in Hebrew, hahergel. Because what does that do?
Wherever you get your podcasts from, or our own website, prismoftorah.com. This is the Prism of Torah with Rabbi Saf Aharon Prisman.
Shalom Avocha. In this week's Parshas Acharei and Kedoshim, in Acharei there's one pasuk over there that Rashi says something that is the tip of an iceberg of a very deep concept that I think can help us a lot if we delve into that idea. As opposed to other divrei Torah I start off with questions. Over here, I just want to try to understand this amazing idea that I saw brought down by Rav Chaim Shmulevitz, and I would like to expand on it in Hashem. In Vayikra Tet Zayin Beis, in Acharei, it says like this: Daber al Aharon achicha ve'al yavo b'chol eisel hakodesh. Aharon, the holy person Aharon, that he went into Kodesh HaKodashim once a year. HaKadosh Baruch Hu says, don't go there all the time. Al yavo b'chol eisel hakodesh. Don't go into the holy place all the time. And Rashi over there says, why? Because the Shechina dwells over there, and it is very dangerous that he'll get used to going there, or get used to the Shechina. V'shelo yargil lavo. It's important that he shouldn't go there all the time, because if he goes there all the time, he'll get used to it. And when you get used to something, that is a big danger, as we'll soon see. Zok the Chassid Yaibetz in the Perush on Avos, Perik Aleph Mishnah Dalid. And he says the following. He brings a pasuk in Yechezkel, and it says over there that when you go into Beis HaMikdash, you should not go in and out of the same gate. And why not? So he explains, because if you go in and out the same gate, you'll feel like you'll get used to it. You'll feel like that place is your home. You'll feel like it's the same as your house. And hence it's very important that you go in one gate. If you came from the south, you go out from the north gate. If you go from the north, then you go out from the south. Why? That you shouldn't feel like it's your house. Says the Chassid Yaibetz, we have to understand, and Rav Chaim Shmulevitz brings him down, our biggest enemy is to get used to something, as it's called in Hebrew, hahergel. Because what does that do? It cools down any type of emotion of kedusha that we have. If we have the fire of elevating ourselves and get closer to Hashem and getting excited about Torah and mitzvahs, if we get used to something, hahergel, it cools all that down and gets rid of that fire we have in our heart to connect to Hashem and to continue striving to reach higher heights. The deep idea behind this danger is several things. First of all, we already spoke in previous times that when you get used to something, you've become desensitized to it. As the Gemara tells us, when a person does a sin, the first time it might be really hard. You feel really awful. You have a conscience about it. I can't believe I'm doing this. Second time, it's still a bit hard, but it's easier. Third time, the Gemara says, Nasa lo keheter. He feels as if this is mutter. He's already so used to doing it, there's nothing wrong with doing it. Similarly, we brought the following mashal a couple of years ago, that when a person works in the sewage, he's so used to the sewage, he doesn't feel it so bad. He can have a sandwich there. It doesn't bother him. So too, it's important that we realize, and we have the sensitivity all the time. We keep it alive. We can't allow this enemy of getting used to something, hahergel, to throw us off from our sensitivity. And this goes twofold. Also from sins, but also we have to appreciate what HaKadosh Baruch Hu gave us, the opportunity to be partners with Hashem, to bring the Geula closer, because we have Torah and mitzvahs, and every time we do it, we bring the whole world one step closer to the Geula. I'll just give another short mashal. When a person buys a new car or new shoes, it doesn't matter what it is. At the beginning, he cares about every little scratch, every little dent. After a while, you really get used to it. Doesn't matter. Another dent. It doesn't bother him anymore. Aharon HaKohen, one of the holiest people, going to the holiest place, to Kodesh HaKodashim. And before he does that, he separates himself from everyone. He goes into Prishus. And yet still, we are worried because this enemy of getting used to something, it is so dangerous that if Aharon, a holy person, goes to the holiest place, Kodesh HaKodashim, if he does that all the time, it's dangerous. At the end of the day, even the holiest person going to the holiest place can eventually change it from Kodesh HaKodashim to chulin, to just being nothing. And that is the danger of getting used to something. But the Chassid Yaibetz, brought down by Rav Chaim Shmulevitz, goes a step further. And he says, do you know how dangerous this enemy is of hergel, of getting used to something? Not only are you not going to get excited anymore for the mitzvah if you get used to it, but it gets even worse. You're actually going to kick it away. You're not even going to, you'll despise it. You'll get to a place, to a point where you're going to be moyes in it. That is the nature of a person. Anything you get used to because you keep doing it, unless you do what we're going to say, mitzvah Hashem, at the end of the day, not only are you not going to appreciate it anymore, but you are going to despise it. And I think we can sense that. You look around, you see people at work, after they're used to a certain job, unless there's a certain element in that job, which we'll try to touch upon in that not only, they don't even want to go to work. It's not like it's okay. They don't appreciate work and they even despise it. Where's that coming from? The same we see about Bnei Yisrael. Bnei Yisrael, at the beginning, they begged Hashem, please give us food over here. So he gives them the man. The man was unbelievable. It can taste like whatever you want to taste. But yet when they got used to it, they despised it. They said, "V'nafshenu katza belechem hakulkal." We can't take this anymore. Bereishis Rabba Yud Zayin Zayin. There's over there a matronisa, which is a certain woman that had a dialogue with Rabbi Yossi. Rabbi Yossi taught her this concept, that it's very dangerous when you get used to something. She came back and told him, you know what? I want to add to what you're saying. I understand exactly what you're saying because I was brought up in a home together with my uncle. And I was supposed to marry him, but he didn't find me attractive. And then he married someone else that was not even close to attractive as I am. And why did this happen? Because he got used to me, because I grew up with him in the house. So we see this concept of when you get used to something, number one, there's a danger that it's going to burn out your enthusiasm. And number two, even worse, it can get you to despise that same thing. Says Rav Chaim Shmulevitz, this can be the pshat in Mishlei, Kaf Hey Yud Zayin, that it says, Yeshayahu over there, when he's rebuking the nation, he says, Yan kinigash ha'am hazeh befiv v'sfasav kibduni. Yeah, the nation honored me with their mouths. However, their hearts were far away from me. V'libo rachak mimeni, v'ati ratam oti mitzvat anashim milumda. They were on autopilot. They got used to doing mitzvahs, but they didn't do it with their hearts. They just did it out of regularity. The mouth continued to say brachas, continued to do things. The hands continued to do mitzvahs, but was their heart in the game? It wasn't. So what is the secret recipe over here to ensure that the biggest enemy we have, which is getting used to something, doesn't get between us and our avodas Hashem, getting excited be avodas Hashem? And really we can take this model idea not only between our avodas Hashem, but anything in life. If you want to continue a good relationship with your wife, with your friends, with your chavrusa, with people you work and you're with them all the time, how do you ensure you continue the good friendship, that you enjoy going to work, that you enjoy being a friend with someone and continuing being with them for such a long period of time? What's the secret recipe over here? The secret recipe is hitchachut, hischadches. You need to always find an element that will be something new. Inject something new into your life. Meaning, if it's learning Torah, don't say, okay, I've been there, done that. No, try to find another perspective. As we know, the Torah is infinite. Shivim panim la Torah. You can add a different commentary. You learn with Rashi, you learn with Ramban, try to go deeper into the ideas. It can change everything. You feel like you're going into something new, and that will revive your heart into the whole matter. Really, we can say that you have to have a path of aliyah. You have to be always on the incline. As you already mentioned in the past, a person that does not continue to grow spiritual all the time, he'll eventually start rolling back. Think of life like a downward escalator. If you don't continue to work hard your way up, you're going to end up going down. And that can be pshat. Why is that true? Because of what we're saying. Because you need to have a continuous element of renewal, of itchachut, of rejuvenating oneself and continuing to work your way up, that will give you a big inyan in life. In avodas Hashem, in Torah and mitzvahs. As Rav Chaim Shmulevitz says, perhaps this is exactly the understanding of the pasuk in Mishlei, that it says, Orach chaim lemala lamaskil, leman sheol mata, which it means the way you should live your life is continuing going upwards if you're smart. Because if not, you're going to end up reaching a rock bottom. And why is that? Perhaps the lamdus of this, the idea behind this, why this is true, is because you're going to lose interest in what you're doing, and even worse, you're going to start despising it if you don't continuously work yourself up. If you look around, you could see that people that are doing something, if there's no element of renewal, of something new, then they lose interest in what they're doing. Even if they're just doing something new, not something better, but something different, that people need that. That's our nature. And perhaps Hashem did it that way. So we'll do more Torah and mitzvahs. When we learn Torah, we'll learn from different perspectives. We'll try to connect to the Torah in as many ways as possible. And that's what we need to do. We need to make sure our excitements within our hearts towards our avodas Hashem will continue to grow all the time. As it says that tzaddikim, they were able to control their hearts. Why? Tzaddikim libam birshusam, because they always work themselves up to have a kesher with something. They realize they always have to do something else, something new, something to ensure their hitlahavut, their fire of love of Torah mitzvahs will continue. The Gemara Nida and also the Chinuch bring down that that's one of the ideas of Nida, of keeping ta'as ha-mishpacha. Because if a person is with his wife all the time, he's not going to appreciate her. He's not going to feel there's any idea of renewal. He's going to get so used to her. But if you keep the laws of ta'as ha-mishpacha, then there's an idea of a renewal. It's as if you're getting remarried all the time. And that's an amazing thing. I want to add to this idea, my 2 cents. Everything's great when it comes to learning Torah, or even doing mitzvahs. You can learn a different aspect. We know the Torah is infinite. There's infinite wisdom involved, and there's so many aspects for everything we do, learning Torah and doing mitzvahs. Every time you can learn something else, and you can connect to the mitzvah from a different perspective. We know there's pardes, pshat, remez, drash, sod, etc. But when it comes to an important relationship like a person with his wife, what do you do? What do you do to ensure over there you don't get used to her? Like the matronisa, that woman said to Rabbi Yossi, that her uncle didn't like her, he didn't want to get married to her because he got used to her. So how do you ensure that doesn't happen? So I'll tell you what I wanted to say, but I'll say someone, a big mashgiach, Rav Volve and Ali Shul, what he said. I wanted to say that you have to ensure you continuously grow spiritually together with your wife. Of course, there's also, one can say that there's an idea of once in a while rejuvenating your relationship by going on a trip together. I think that's obviously true. But more than that, I think if you continuously grow with your wife, spiritually, you work on your midot together. As Rav Chaim Kanievsky told me once, it's very important I learn orchos tzaddikim with my wife, because that's going to bond us in a different way that will continuously elevate our relationship, which is also a perspective of itchachut. Something new happened here. And hence, that is what I want to add to ensure that the relationship continues to grow. But my dear friend, Rav Dov Ber Lif Shlita, that I teach in his yeshiva, he's the Rosh Yeshiva there, he told me that he heard directly from his mashgiach in his yeshiva, Harav Volve Zatzal, that he said a Momadek idea, and I think if you think about this idea, it's very deep. And he says, you know what you need to do? What you need to do is to have a karat tov. You have to appreciate what the other one did for you. We're talking about our wives right now, or the better half. If you appreciate everything she does, that's going to be a game changer. And the way he brought it down to them, he had a sikha with them once, and he said, you know, I want to tell you what is the hardest thing to do in your lifetime. Everyone wanted to guess what? To learn Torah? What? To midot tovot? What is it? To get up early to daven? What? He said the hardest thing is to have continuous appreciation, hakarat tov, for your wife. And what did he mean by that? He explained to them that hakarat tov, you have to work yourself up and be me'orer yourself, awaken yourself to really, really, truly in your heart appreciate what your wife does for you. Because what is the danger of a relationship? You get used to someone, and then what happens? What happens is you don't feel like she's doing you a favor. You feel like your friend or your wife, they owe it to you already. It's already a known thing. It's obvious. Of course they're going to do A, B, and C for me. Of course she's going to do breakfast for me. Or if you're an avrich, of course she's going to work and bring the money, which is even your responsibility. So it's a huge favor she's doing it. But even that, because you're used to being with that she's doing it for you, it's obvious. And even if 1 out of 100 days she doesn't do breakfast for you, you'll say, whoa, what's going on? What do you mean? A person has to always appreciate. And if you're me'orer, your emotions, you awaken your emotions to realize that, that's going to be a game changer. Because you're never going to get used to her. Because you're always going to appreciate, and that, there's 2 ways of saying this in my opinion. The way Rav Wolve says it, he says it's going to be the awakening, the itchachut. That in itself will be itchachut. Wow, I never thought of her in that light. Why? I really appreciate her. But perhaps you can say even more than that. I would like to suggest, maybe one can say that is going to be, that's going to be an impediment. It's going to stop you from getting used to her. Why? Because you appreciate. When you appreciate someone, you don't get used to her and take it for granted. You appreciate. And that is the big avodah, to continuously, if you were someone 24/7, to continuously appreciate what they do. That is an avodah. That's an avodah that tzaddikim do. They work on their hearts to always appreciate. And therefore, it changes everything. But he says it's not enough. Zokt Rav Wolve, you have to bring that into fruition. You have to say something to her all the time, that you communicate to her how much you appreciate her, and you also have to put it into actions. And that has to do with every relationship. How do we ensure we don't cool off our hearts and have the same itlahavut, the fire to connect to whatever it is, to the person we have a relationship with? The way is to have appreciation, to have a hakarat tov. Where do we see this in Chazal? I think Rashi brings it in Chumash, in Parshas Vayera, if I remember correctly. I think Rav Chaim Shmulevitz brings it down as well. We see that when the malachim, the angels that were dressed up as if they were people, came to Avraham Avinu so he can fulfill the mitzvah of Achnasas Oichim, and they said, where is your wife? Where is Sarah? Ayes Sarah? And why did they do that? They asked him, where's your wife, Sarah? Because they knew that once they triggered that idea in his mind, he'll say, she's in the inner room making food for you. But why did they ask him that? Because they wanted to trigger in his mind, wow, look what a modest wife I have. That's unbelievable. I should appreciate that. And they wanted to trigger that in his mind, so he'll have appreciation to his wife. That's what we learn from Chazal. Every little thing that happened with the avodas, we can learn from it a ton. And we see from here how important it is to work on your hakarat tov, to appreciate other people. That appreciation in itself will do the job of not allowing our biggest enemy, which is getting used to something, to cool off our passion and relationship with whatever is dear to us, be it our work, be it our wives, be it our friends, be it our chavrusas, or most importantly, our connection with the Kodesh Baruch Hu. Have a great Shabbos, and remember to continuously appreciate others and to continuously growing up, especially in spirituality. Good Shabbos again.
Thank you for joining us. This is the Prism of Torah. Visit our website, prismoftorah.com, where you'll find a full archive of hundreds of past Divrei Torah. Subscribe to the podcast, leave us a review, and don't forget to share with your friends and family. Sponsorship opportunities are available for all of our episodes. Thank you, Yonavefa, for your recording equipment. Produced by Eli Podcast Productions.